All right, so let's talk about these picks, all right? Honestly, these are just reaches. You could have waited for them, or there was at least better options. So I will tell you about the players, and don't take it personal. This is just me being critical and being honest. Don't take away of how we feel as a football fan, all right? So let me break this down by telling you how I feel about these picks. So Nick Martin. Nick Martin to me was a reach. A lot of factors of why he's a reach. There was at least better linebackers. And you could have waited in maybe in the fifth round, and he would have been there still. You could have addressed the offensive line, and that could have been a really good situation to go with. But that's either here or then. For all I know, he might pan out to be a really good linebacker. He might end up being the best linebacker of that draft in a couple of years, and it would be irrelevant of me to say that. So I'm just saying the value just wasn't right. But from the tape, you can see why he would be a great fit. He kind of fits the mold of what we're looking for. He gives you that fast, maniac, undersized linebacker who just wants to tear somebody's head off or something. The one thing you'll like about Nick Martin from 2023 was he was very productive, 140 plus tackles, 6 sacks. His coverage was okay. His coverage was about average. But as far as what you're getting with him at that spot is you're betting on that upside. You're betting on this guy being your starter down the road. But you're going to have competition with him and D Winters because they do have very similar skill sets. So I can see why they got him because you see the similarity of those two guys. They're both undersized. They're both fast. They're just guys that we're probably hoping they can contribute. But I just thought they were better value picks. But let's go on to the next one. So the cornerback from Western Kentucky, Upton Stout. Do not get me wrong. I like the pick. The value was just a little bit of a reach. The reason why I felt like it was a reach was because no other team would have picked them that high except the 49ers. You definitely solidify your nickel spots. He does have confidence. He kind of defines what a cornerback is. Annoy opposing receivers and stuff like that. He plays bigger than his size. So I don't have a problem with his size. He plays a lot bigger. You watch his film, he can hit. He's strong as hell for a small guy. But what I'm saying is you draft him at that spot, you could have waited at that point. But that's either here or then. I like the pick. So I'm not gonna go too far on critical on that situation. The next one, Jordan Watkins. I thought maybe you could have waited for him in the seventh round and you could have got yourself offensive line or something. But no, there was at least better receivers you could have got. But here's one thing that stands out about Jordan Watkins. He has speed. His skill set can really fit into our offense. He kind of gives you a little bit of Dante Pettis. A little bit of Dante Pettis with a little bit more of what Danny Gray should have been. But you might get something out of this kid. The thing about him is he's a good blocker. He was productive last season, very productive. But to get him at day 3, it was head scratching. I feel like I feel like he's just going to be on the bench and not have much playing time. So I feel like that was a wasted pick. Maybe you could have waited until the 7th round, but that's just my opinion. Like he can give you the big plays, and that's something we've been lacking, of course. But you got Jacob Cowan who does something like that. But except you get this guy who's about 20 pounds heavy, 3 inches taller, just a little fast than what you got with Cowan. But I feel like you needed to add speed. And for all I know, maybe Watkins will contribute. Maybe Watkins will have a huge contributor to our offense, for all I know. For all I know, he might get involved in some gadget plays. For all I know, he might be the difference of winning ball games. So it can either be a okay pick or whatever. I can live with being wrong with this. But at the end of the day, man, it was just a reach. You could have got Torrey Horton, who went into the 5th round to the Seahawks. I thought he was a better receiver. I mean, you had a receiver like Ricky White who could have done everything for you, but you didn't do that. So Now let's go on to Marquise Sigel. I just thought it was a reach. Should have you got somebody else? Yes. But he kind of does fit the skill set. He's a guy that can play multiple defensive back positions, so he is very versatile to play those spots. But you could have got Billy Bowman, man. Billy Bowman could have been in that pick range if you would have just moved up to get him, but it's okay. What you saw from the tape from Kansas State was he made some nice plays. He isn't afraid of tackling. He runs pretty quick for that position, so I can see why they want to bet on the upside. But there was at least maybe a couple safeties you could have taken. But I think under the circumstances, he might turn out to be pretty good. So for all I know, it could be irrelevant in a couple years. He might turn out to be a really good player at the end of the day. So that's just my thoughts, man. Let me know what y'all